I'd like to officially welcome here today our speaker, Mr. Paul Griffin, President and CEO of Marine Atlantic. Paul has over 20 years of progressive management experience in small, medium, and large organizations in both the technology and transportation sectors. Paul joined Marine Atlantic in 2009 in the newly created role as Vice President of Strategy and Corporate Affairs, tasked with developing the corporation's strategic planning and corporate services functions. He was promoted to President and CEO in December 2011. Prior to joining Marine Atlantic, Paul was President of Rooter Technologies, Inc., which is a wholly owned subsidiary of a Canadian publicly traded company. He's been an active member of several industry associations, including holding board positions with the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters Association and the Newfoundland Aerospace and Defense Association. Paul holds a Bachelor of Engineering degree from Memorial University. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Paul Griffin.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much to the board for the invitation and the opportunity to say a few words. I'd also like to say thank you to everybody in attendance. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come down and hear me say a few words today. A special welcome and hello to MHA and Minister Jerry Byrne. First time I met Mr. Byrne, very nice to meet you, sir. And as well to MHA Scott Reed, of course. Great to see you as well, sir. It was interesting, myself and Minister Byrne were talking about the gorge and how beautiful it is up there. And you folks are lucky. You live in a beautiful, beautiful part of the province. You have great opportunities for outdoor activities, culture, history, and so on. And I always enjoy the West Coast. I get out here as much as I can. I love salmon fishing. So in about 2 months' time, I'm going to spend some time in the Humber, which I'm really looking forward to. And I got to be honest, I believe the salmon are looking forward to that more than I am. Because as I'm putting my fly in the water, they're just jumping and laughing. So I'm looking forward to spend a little bit of time and hopefully catch a fish or two. What I'd like to do today, over the next maybe 20 minutes or so, is to talk a little bit about the journey of renewal that Marine Atlantic has been on since 2010. Just talk a little bit about where we are and as well about where we're going into the future, just to give you an indication of some of the things we're thinking about. And I'd like to say up front that we at Marine Atlantic, board, management, and employees, recognize that the decisions we make about our service affect you in the business community every day. And I want to assure you that, whether you're waiting for supplies to your business, you're waiting for a tourist to come to your business, you're waiting for a family member or a friend, we really understand that what we do impacts you. And we work every day, we work hard every day, management and the employees, to ensure that we provide the level of service that you need. The importance of the service that we provide is certainly front and center to everybody every day, as I mentioned. So hopefully as I go over my few words today, I'll provide you with some insight in terms of the thought process that we go through when we're looking at making business decisions at Marine Atlantic. The first thing I'd like to do is to share with you my introduction to customer experience at Marine Atlantic. So I joined Marine Atlantic in July of 2009. And my first customer interaction was about 5 days later. And before I start my story, I'd like to ask, do we have any motorcycle enthusiasts in the room? Oh, we got a few. Okay, so you'll be able to relate to the story. The same with snowmobiles and ATVs. So it's a beautiful Sunday morning. It's about 18 degrees, and my wife and I decided to go for a bike ride. So we left St. John's, we left our home, and went out to Holyrood, which is just outside St. John's, and there's a popular coffee shop out there. So we decided to stop in and have a coffee. The place seats maybe 25 people. So my wife and I walk in, and I'm taking off my jacket, and I have maybe one arm out. And I have actually a golf shirt on that Tara Lang, our communications manager, is here with me today, that Tara had given me on my first day on the job. And I was wearing that proudly. I had the Marine Atlantic logo right here, so I had one arm off. And a lady behind my wife looks up and says, "Do you work at Marine Atlantic?" And being a proud new employee, I said, "Of course I do." And with that, for the next 15 minutes, in front of 20 people, sadly for me, including my wife, she went on a tirade about customer experience at Marine Atlantic. And a little taken aback, but when she calmed down a little bit, I actually had a conversation with her. And some of the concerns that she had were very real, and there were things we were trying to deal with at the corporation. And I didn't mention this to you, Tara, but for some reason, I never saw that shirt again. But things have changed. We're at a low point at that point in time. There's no doubt about it. We had a very, very tired fleet. Our infrastructure was old, subject to frequent breakdown, and combined, it really ended up with a very poor and unreliable ferry service. Since that time, so since 2010, we've added 2 modern vessels to our fleet. We've rebuilt a lot of our shore-based infrastructure, and we've modernized many of our business processes and procedures and so on in order to improve. One improvement element was the addition of our electronic notification system, which enabled us to contact customers directly via email, voicemail, text message, to let them know about upcoming sailings, any potential delays, or any delays that have in fact occurred, which provides our customers with the opportunity to make adjustments. So if they're coming to Port aux Basques and they want to stop in the Corner Brook for a meal or look around, they can do that. And that's one of the challenges that the customer I mentioned a few minutes ago had. She drove right across the island only to discover that her ferry had been delayed by 4 hours. What we do now is we make decisions 12 hours before the sailing to make sure that our customers are well aware and they can adjust their plans accordingly. With our commercial customers, we actually have daily contact with dispatchers and drivers. We pass them on information about sailings and so on, so we can allow them to make any adjustments that they need to make in their business. And I should mention that about 70% of our traffic is actually commercial. 50% of this customer base is actually drop trailers, and that's where a customer would bring a trailer to us and we would transport it across the Gulf. Last year, we introduced a new automated system that provides our drop trailer customers with real-time information on the status and location of their drop trailers. This includes information such as arrival time on our parking lots, when it's loaded on the ships, when it's going to be ready for pickup. And this information is available to our commercial customers 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it's important for them because then they can communicate with their customers so that they know when the lettuce or building supplies or consumer goods are going to be available. The commercial trucking companies have provided us very, very positive feedback on this initiative because it helps them plan better. And in the transportation business, of course, it's all about planning and it's all about certainty. So they've been certainly positive with us. The commercial trucking companies are telling us that this information helps them to better plan moving their cargo, improving communications, and most importantly, providing service to you, the business community, whether you're moving goods off the island or onto the island. I'd just like to talk about customer satisfaction. So since 2010, and we measure customer satisfaction on an ongoing basis, since 2010, customer satisfaction levels with Marine Atlantic have actually risen by more than 20%. So we call customers, we ask them to rate us on a number of attributes, and one of them is overall satisfaction. So we have right now about 74% of our customers on a scale of 10 who rate us 8, 9, or 10. So we're very pleased to see that improvement. And a lot of this improvement has been driven by increased vessel reliability and on-time performance. Last year, our on-time performance, excluding weather, was 92%, which in any transportation industry is a really, really solid number. Our renewed fleet, along with improved and updated maintenance practices, have made this possible. And I'm very, very proud of the work that all of our frontline employees and our maintenance employees have done and so on in order to make these improvements. Weather will always be a challenge. Earlier this week, we had winds of 120 kilometers an hour and 30-foot seas. That's our reality. We live on an island and we have to cross the Gulf, which is a rough stretch of water. We have wind, we have sea states, at times we have ice. We had a lot of ice last year, not so much this year. And all of those factors certainly impact our sailing schedule, particularly this time of the year over the winter and the spring. When weather adversely impacts our schedule, our objective is to return to a regular operating schedule as soon as conditions permit us to move the traffic quickly, safely, and efficiently in order to get goods on and off the island. With the capacity of our new ships, the Blue Petits and the Highlanders, being over 40% greater than the Caribou and the Smallwood that they replaced, we're able to move existing traffic and return to our operating schedule much quicker than we were before. Some of you may have heard comments or criticism that our new ships are too big or can't operate in our environment. The reality is that our ships are big. I mentioned a minute ago they're 40% more capacity than we had before. Each one is able to move over 500 vehicles or over 100 commercial units. And if you ask any of our regular commercial customers, they will attest to their ability to clean up the traffic after a weather event. The bigger ships can move traffic efficiently, keeping costs down, reducing fuel burn, and so on. I do take exception to the notion that the ships are too big. When we modified the vessels and introduced them into service in late 2010 and early 2011, we specified and ensured that maneuverability was front and center in terms of the capabilities of these new ships. And the fact is that after 5 years of operating experience, I can say that we have the data to demonstrate that the ships can get in and out of our harbors and move across the Gulf as well as or better than the ships that they replaced. And that's not based on speculation, stories, that's based on solid fact. We did make one operational change around the same time that we introduced the new ships that I believe is adding to the speculation that the ships are indeed too big. In the past, we loaded the vessels, and if they were able to leave the port safely, then they departed. When weather prevented the vessel from docking, the ships would, the term we use is jog, which means they would move up and down the coastline until they could safely dock. I've heard many, many stories about being stuck off the coast of Cape Anguille for 36 hours or having to go down as far as Ramia Island to turn around. While this may have provided our customers with the feeling that we're actually moving, that we're actually making progress, getting to their destination, it did present us with a lot of challenges. While our crews are absolutely top-notch and world-class at loading and securing drop trailers and tractor trailers, we did have damage due to the heavy seas. Our customers have different levels of tolerance for sea states, and oftentimes we had to be careful not to run into sickness bags. So that was a challenge as well. We also burned a lot of fuel jogging up and down the coast. So with all those factors in mind, we actually decided to make some changes. Today, our teams on shore work closely with our captains, and our captains have the final say on whether we can depart or arrive safely. So we work each and every day with those teams, look at the weather forecast several times a day, and determine if the schedule will be impacted based upon the forecasted weather conditions. Our goal is, if possible, as I mentioned, to make a decision 12 hours ahead of the scheduled sailing to provide customers with enough notice to make the decision that best suits their needs. And we have a live example of that today. So at 10 a.m. this morning, we cancel a sailing tonight at 11:45 because we're expecting heavy wind and very, very heavy seas. Since many of our customers have to drive great distances to travel with us, this protocol has helped to reduce the frustration experienced by those who arrived at the terminal only to learn an hour or two later that actually their sailing is delayed. I'd like to say a few words about rates. And I saw Michelle Melendi here earlier on. Her and I did a course together a little while ago and met her husband. We were talking about rates. And you probably are aware that we announced or increased our rates as of April 1st by 2.6%. And we've had a lot of discussion with a lot of people about our rates, certainly all the stakeholder groups and so on. I've had some conversations certainly with the province, with MP Goody Hutchings as well, with MHA and Justice Minister Andrew Parsons, who's MHA, of course, from the Port of Basque area, and with the town of Port of Basque as well. So lots of engagement and discussion. And just like you in the business community, raising rates, never ever an easy decision because you know it impacts your customers. That being said, Marine Atlantic is a federal crown corporation with a mandated cost recovery of 65%, and we must make adjustments in rates to offset increasing costs. Our service does not make money, despite what some people might believe, and we rely heavily on the financial contribution made by the Government of Canada. And just to give you an indication of the level of contribution, last year the federal government contributed to our service $151 million. And that's in addition to the $204 million that they provided us to purchase the Blue Petits and the Highlanders. So our operating subsidy on an ongoing basis is in the $125 to $150 million range. During our annual budgetary process, we evaluate government appropriations, the money that government gives us, customer revenues, and the expenditures necessary to operate our service, and we make decisions on rates based on that information. With the costs associated with materials, supplies, and labor continuing to increase, just like you experience in your own business, we must pass these costs along to our customers in order to meet both our financial obligations and our cost recovery targets. We continue to monitor our fuel surcharge, which did not increase this year. It's at 15%. We dropped it last year. It was 21. We dropped it down to 15. I'm often asked, and our employees are often asked, why do you require a fuel surcharge when oil prices are so low? And the fact is that we are moving to a more expensive type of fuel, which is driving our fuel cost increases. Last year, there were new environmental regulations introduced which require us and all transportation companies to reduce the amount of emissions that we put into the environment. The regulations aim to reduce the amount of sulfur dioxide, which is emitted when we burn fuel. And I think we can all get behind that initiative, given the concerns that we all have about the type of world we want to leave and the type of planet we want to leave to our children and our grandchildren. But like many environmental initiatives, there is a cost. For us, it means that we have to switch from burning bunker fuel, and last year we burned about 93% bunker fuel and 7% diesel, to 100% diesel by January of 2020. We'll make that switch over the next 3 years. And just to give you an indication of the cost difference, at today's prices, marine diesel is 20 to 30% more expensive than bunker fuel. And we burn a lot of fuel, so it does have a pretty significant impact. Knowing that the regulations were coming into effect, and in our ongoing efforts to reduce fuel, we've developed several approaches to reduce fuel burn, including connecting our vessels to shore power. So basically when our vessels come in our layup status, we connect them to power on shore, which actually has reduced our fuel burn by over 1 million liters a year, which is good for the environment and also good from a cost perspective. We've also implemented a fuel management program on board our vessels, which includes active fuel monitoring and adjustments to vessel sailing schedules and so on, reducing speeds where possible. While lower international fuel prices as well as the corporation's ongoing fuel savings measures are stabilizing the current fuel surcharge at 15%, future increases will be necessary to reflect the costs associated with purchasing the more expensive fuel. Based upon current projections, we are anticipating a fuel surcharge increase of approximately 5% in April of 2017, and we'll have more information obviously on that later in the year. We recognize that increased costs have an impact on our customers, but like you, we have to live within our budgets. Our commitment is to undertake the most fuel-efficient processes possible in order to keep our costs and our rates down. Another item I expect you're wondering about is the announcement of a judicial review between OceanX, the Government of Canada, and Marine Atlantic. At this time, there's not a lot I can say about that, as you probably are aware, it's before the court. Essentially, what is occurring is there is an application in the Federal Court of Canada for a judicial review regarding the rates that Marine Atlantic charges its commercial customers. The applicant is seeking an order from the Federal Court of Canada that would require Marine Atlantic to impose freight rates that are sufficient to fully recover its costs. Like all legal processes, this one is certainly complicated and will take some time to work through the courts. I can't speculate on the outcome other than say that we will be guided by the court and any decisions that the Minister of Transportation makes. Just a minute on tourism. In terms of our tourism traffic, we work really hard to provide a positive experience and certainly a good first impression to visitors. I want to acknowledge the great work done by groups such as the Western DMO and Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador on behalf of the local tourism industry. We're certainly happy to work with them to promote the tourism potential of our province. We also work closely with the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador in promotions and trade shows. We've launched advertising campaigns on the mainland with a focus on the West Coast and Labrador, featuring the 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites at Grossmorn, Lanson Meadows, and Red Bay. We ran that last year. It was very, very successful. I know that there was a lot of interest in the province generally, and on the West Coast specifically, in our trial discount campaigns that we've launched over the last year or so. Last summer, we experienced the first passenger-related increase in traffic in several years. Through Argentia, there was actually an 11% increase in passenger traffic, while we saw an increase of 5.5% on the Port of Bass run. We know that there are economic factors such as the high American dollar and lower gas prices which influence people's travel plans. And I was asked earlier this afternoon about our U.S. bookings, and they certainly were up last year. However, we also recognize that we're a vital tourism link in bringing tourists to the province, and we are continually looking at new ways that we can partner with industry to make that happen. And it has been through the many conversations with industry groups and customers that we decided to launch our trial discount campaigns to better understand booking preferences and how we can attract new and existing customers to our service. Last summer's campaign through Argentia was our first test of the trial discount model, and it was a tremendous success. You will be interested to know that the campaign attracted new customers who've never used our service and brought back customers who haven't used our service in over 3 years. And in fact, that group of new customers and customers who haven't traveled with us for 3 years represented over 50% of the campaign bookings. That's certainly very, very encouraging for us. We also know that our customers are looking for flexibility and choice, so that they have options regarding the type of ticket they wish to purchase and when they wish to book. And that's what we want to develop at Marine Atlantic, a new pricing structure that presents customers with options and choices, we all like options and choices, that reflects individual travel circumstances and preferences. I will be the first to admit that when it comes to rates and booking preferences, at the moment, Marine Atlantic doesn't offer much flexibility. The price is the same regardless if you travel on a Wednesday or a Friday, July or January. And we'd like to change that. We've heard the feedback, which has basically said, consider a pricing structure change, something that might resemble an airline model. I think we're all familiar with that, Tango and Flex and Latitude and so on. And that's really the purpose of our trials. Of course, what may work for airlines may not work for Marine Atlantic. And any changes will have to take into account our continued need to meet budgetary and financial commitments as a Federal Crown Corporation. With that being said, our second trial discount, which we launched in mid-February and finished on April 3rd on Sunday, is something new that we're trying. With a 50% discount in passenger fares for defined travel periods, this campaign is different from the last and will help us better understand different aspects of booking preferences. Basically, this campaign provided a discount from May 15th to July 15th, which is in advance of our normal peak season, which starts in the middle of July. And it offered a discount on Monday through Thursday sailings, which tend to be less popular than Friday through Sunday sailings. So these are the things we're trying. And we're currently compiling the results of the campaign, but initial bookings look very, very positive. And I'm very, very happy to report to you, I got this information just yesterday, that compared to last year, on the Port of Bass service, there is a 127% increase in bookings, which is phenomenal. 52% of those bookings are actually with the trial discount offer. And what we've found is even when we advertise a campaign, more people call us and book non-campaign prices, which is kind of interesting in terms of customer behavior. What you'll see from Marine Atlantic is we'll take the learnings from these trials and we'll try some other things over the next 12 to 18 months. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to work hard to become a modern and efficient corporation offering a high level of customer service. As I've outlined here today, we've come a long way in the past few years, but we still have a lot to do. We have work underway to help us identify ways we can make our customers' journey with us a better experience. We're looking at enhancing the options we offer on board. We're looking for more efficient ways to operate. And we're looking to engage even more with our stakeholders and business partners. There will always be challenges, but rest assured we are working hard to ensure that the vital transportation link that we provide meets the varying needs of every one of our customers and everyone that depends on them. It's been my pleasure to speak to you today, and I'm encouraged by today's turnout. it speaks to a strong and vibrant Board of Trade, which is actually quite good for the business community. So very happy to see that. Thank you for your attention. I hope I've provided some insight into our operations and decision-making processes. I'd be happy to take questions for a few minutes if you have any. I'll take them from here. If you wish to speak to me afterward, I would be more than happy to do that as well. So thank you very much.